Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning, and finally we are getting down to designing a closet. I'm Kelly Levine, and welcome. If this is your first time here, what we've all gone through is doing a closet inventory, which is the first step, measuring the closet, and drawing out the closet. And now we're finally ready to start designing. Hi, Shelby. And so I've got my closet that we measured last week, and yeah, we're going to get to it. So if you don't have a closet, you can still watch, but go back and see those other videos, and that'll give you a better idea of what we're doing here. Couple other things. I have literally designed thousands of closets, and I'm still learning. So I'm not going to be able to teach you guys everything about closet design in one day, in one time. I'm not sure how long this will take. I'm going to try to make it somewhat quick. I'm not going to explain things to the nth degree. You know that I like to keep things simple. The other thing that I was thinking about is there's a difference if you're designing a closet to have a custom closet company build it for you, or if you were designing a closet to purchase something pre-made, whether that be from one of the box stores or online, or there's a number of different ways to go about that. So because of that, I'm going to kind of sort of stick to some somewhat standard dimensions, and I think that'll be easier for people than me going off into tangents on a lot of custom type things. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll see how long this takes to create a closet. Again, if this is your first time, all we're using is graph paper, and I like the graph paper with 4 squares. Each square is 6 inches, so it becomes very easy to draw this out, and a pencil. I'm using an iPad so I can erase and be fancy and fun, but anyway, all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. And so so let's get to drawing. Where is my button to switch it over? Okay, and you can hopefully see my iPad there. Go on here and see if we're live. Make sure Facebook is doing all the things. Okay, and there I am. Okay, perfect. All right, let me get this other thing out of the way. Okay, so here's some of my notes so here's the inventory that I did, and this is on Shelby's closet. And this was the drawing that we did when we measured. And then here was the one that we drew out last week. But I put it on a bigger piece of graph paper because I want to be able to show all of the walls in elevation at the same time when we get done drawing this. So the first thing I typically do is take my inventory and kind of sort of look at, okay, how much hanging do I need? In this closet, just so you guys can see it, I'm going to write it over here. Shelby had about 86 inches of hanging, and Ty had about 65. Okay, and in this closet as well, if you guys were here before, Ty was kind of sort of using more of this area. This is his bathroom back here, and then this area was Shelby's half. That's a closet joke. So anyway, so we want to make sure, since I'm going to set the priority for them, in this case, that hanging is the priority, and then shelving is going to come second. They don't need a lot of drawers, but I am going to draw this with drawers just because Shelby had some makeshift drawers in the closet, and usually that's a good indication that it would be nice to have some drawers in the closet. So if we need, and most of her hanging and definitely all of Ty's hanging was pretty much all short hanging. So for Ty, we need, if we're going to do double hanging, meaning we're going to have one rod over another, we are going to need 65 divided by 2 is we're going to need 32 inches of hanging space to give us 65 inches so he has room. Now a common size is 36, so I'm going to bump it up to 36. And the other thing that Ty needs is shelving. So we're going to take this 61 inches, and I'm going to tell you something else. When you're doing a closet, you have to decide, and some of this might have to do with how you're going to purchase the system, but you have to decide, is the width of the section from the outside of the material, in other words, if this is the rod right here, is the width of the section from the outside here to the outside here, or is it the inside and that's your rod dimension? For pre-bought systems, it's generally outside to outside. So that's what I'm going to kind of go by. I think that'll be easier for us to draw it out. The reality is that if you draw this out that way and you were to give this design to a custom closet company or a custom fabric or cabinet shop to build it for you, they would be able to figure it out and, change those dimensions. So I'm going to use, as if we're talking about the whole section itself. So what I'm going to do is turn this sideways because I'm going to be working on Ty's area right here. Okay, and again, each square is 6 inches. Most of the sections that you're going to purchase are going to be 12 inches deep if they're for hanging, but remember, hanging clothes hang out 22 inches. We talked about this before. So this section is really, well laid out to have hanging clothes in it because it's 24 inches deep, and it doesn't hit the door over here because it's 25 there as well. There are about 1,000 rules in closets, but if you had a closet with a wall like this, but the door was way back here, you would not want to be putting hanging clothes right here, or they're going to hang out into that area because they're going to hang out into here. Okay, we're not using that whole area, so I'm going to use 36 inches, and I'm going to use this portion because remember, Ty also needs some shelves, and so I'm going to put those closer to the door so they're more convenient to get to. So let's just, when I draw a section, we're drawing it from the top down as if we're standing on top. So all you're really going to see is a shelf. So here's 36 inches. Here's some, a double line, and basically that just shows that there's a thickness of material there, and that becomes your section. I will show you how to draw that out in elevation view as well, and we're going to do that once we get this in here. But for now, we're just kind of sort of placing these sections in the closet. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line there, and I'm going to come back 36, so 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to draw another double line there because that's my width, and I'm going to close it off, and basically that's showing that you've got a 12-inch deep section, and it's for hanging. Okay, if you want to get fancy, you can draw in, that the rod is going to be right here. So that's where the rod is going to be, and then the clothes are going to hang back here and up here. So that's the space that section is taking up. Okay, next we're going to give some shelves. We're going to put some shelves next to this hanging. And again, for Ty, it was pretty easy. He needs 65 inches of hanging, and he needs about 11 spaces for shelving. When we measured our shelving, we counted the number of stacks. If you counted, in his case, I counted 11 stacks. He had some on the top shelf, and then he had some, makeshift fabric ones that were hanging on the side, and he had some of those full of folded clothes as well. So he needs 11 stacks. Most of the time shelving is going to be 24 inches wide or 18 inches wide. You can kind of see that if you've got a 12-inch stack of clothes and you're trying to put it on an 18-inch wide shelf, it doesn't work out very well. So for the most part, for your folded clothes, try to, I keep forgetting to turn my, try to work with either, a 22, 24-inch shelf right around there. It's good there. That's a very, very common size, so it's going to be readily available. Generally, I would recommend too doing at least a 14-inch deep shelf if you're going to be putting folded clothes on it. So that's going to be a little bit deeper than what we had here. So depending on how you're purchasing this, again, you might be able to share this panel and just do it and do a 12-inch or a 14-inch panel there and have this section meet up with it, or you might have to do a whole nother piece of material. So we'll just draw that in that way, with a line here and a line here that's a little bit deeper, and then a line against the wall. If you're using pre-made systems, you may not be able to fit wall to wall unless you have the equipment to cut a panel. So you want to make sure in that case that if you're purchasing a 24-inch wide section and a 36-inch wide section, that that they can both actually fit in the space. So far we've got basically Ty's half of the closet done. We've got 24-inch shelves here, and we've got hanging here. So to show you how we would draw that out, what we really just placed there is we've got a 61-inch wide section. And we've got, let's see, what was our ceiling height was 95 inches. Okay, so almost 96. So I'm just going to draw a line that's 95 inches tall, and that's, oops, I drew it too long. That is 16 squares. So 24, 48, 72, 96, and so we're slightly less than that, if you remember how we're counting our squares. And then 61 inches is going to be 10 squares plus just a little bit more. So we're going to go across 10 squares and a little bit more. Draw the other side of our wall, and this line is the floor. So it's floor, ceiling, side wall, and that would be this side, and this line is this wall. So what we basically just did is now we are viewing this from, we're standing right here in front of this section and looking at it. Okay, so we're not looking down from the top anymore, we're looking at the closet. So because we're going to do, oops, hold on here. Because we are doing, good morning Bonnie, hi Christina. we're doing, sorry, this went to the full thing and now I'm having trouble seeing my, okay, I can see it good enough. Because we're going to be doing double hanging, we want to make sure that we're using 84 inches high. Most of the systems that you're going to buy if you go purchase something are going to be 84 inches. If they're not, I would, keep looking because really for an adult, you need 84 inches of height to get double hanging in there. And that line for 84 inches, since we're using this whole section, that line is, 12 inches from the top. So it's right there. And I just draw that in, makes it easy to do the rest of it. So our first section we've got is the 24-inch shelves. So we've got a piece of material there. And guys, I'm used to drawing this like it's a custom closet with these full panels on the end. If your plan is to use a wall hung section or something like that, you may not have this much height. You may not get quite as much out of it. But again, I can't cover every detail, so this is hopefully going to give you a good idea of how to lay the closet out. And then at some point you'll have to make modifications based on the system you decide to purchase. Okay, so the 24-inch wide shelves are going to go over 4 squares, and I went over a little bit more. Hold on. Okay, so there's our shelving section. I recommend shelves for folded clothes be 10 inches, basically spaced 10 inches apart. So I'm going to draw this for clothes. Well, first, actually, I'm going to leave Ty some space for a laundry basket at the bottom. So I'm going to put my first shelf up at about 15 inches or so that he can put a laundry basket under there. On this picture, I know all of this looks really, really small, but 15 inches is pretty high. Sometimes it's good to leave, 18, but you don't need much more than that for a regular flat laundry basket. If you've got a taller one, then you may want to start up higher before you start your shelves. Okay, so we've got our bottom and our top, and then I'm just going to start putting in some shelves at 10 inches on center approximately. And so there we go. So that gives Ty 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 spaces for folded clothes. And I figured that he needed 11. Okay, so he still also has this top shelf, which is another 5 spaces if we count these out as 12-inch, 12-inch spaces. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stacks of clothes or other things could go up there. So in total, for spaces for folded clothes or other miscellaneous items, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19 spaces, plus a space for a laundry basket. So I hope that you guys see how this closet math, how this just really, really expands the space and gives you so much more room to work with. Okay, and the other nice thing, if you purchase the system, the right kind of system, these shelves are going to be adjustable. So if you want more shelves in there for shoes, or you want to have some a little bit farther apart than others, you just adjust them up or down. Okay, so then we're going to put in our rods for our next section, and I'm going to draw those panels. And then the top rod is going, and there will be a shelf at the top, so there's another line at the top. The top rod is going to go basically all the way to the top, as far as you can go. The second one, if it's an 84-inch system, you'll either have, you potentially will have a shelf in the center here, and hopefully you do, because you can use that shelf, but in some cases it's not totally necessary. And then you've got a rod there. Okay, so we've got hanging here, we've got a 36-inch section there, and a 24 section here. Okay? I hope this is making sense. I know there's a lot to it, but really if you ever took drafting in high school, I'm sure this is coming back to you. If you didn't, you might be saying, what in the world is going on here? Hopefully that's not the case. So for good drafting practice, there's our elevation markers. Some more dimensions here. That's our 84-inch system height. So basically what this means is, this is an elevation view of this wall here. And this is called the plan view. Okay? I hope this is making sense. Let's keep going. So we pretty much have Ty taken care of. He's got 72 inches of hanging and, did I say 19 spaces for folded clothes, so he is good. On Shelby's side, we talked about some drawers. She does need some space for folded clothes as well. And she's got hanging, and she's got some mid-hanging because she does have some dresses. So we're going to break this up into 4 sections here. And go from there. So the first thing that I would typically do is, figure out how much hanging. So it was 86 inches of hanging for her. Divided by 2 is 43 inches if it was all double, but some of it isn't. And so let's see what happens if we were to give her 36 inches of double. That would be 72. So if we take 86 minus 72, that leaves us, we need 14 more inches. With that, we can give her some mid-hanging. So my thought here is to give her 36 inches of double and 24 inches of mid-hanging. She maybe doesn't have that much mid, but she can hang some of her longer things there as well, or short things. It's going to be plenty high for that too. So I want to start by putting in the easy part first. Let's put in her double hanging, and let's put that at the back. Since this is Ty's bathroom, Shelby's mostly coming out and going in this way. And so I think to have her drawers and shelves here and to keep this more open is going to be much nicer. So I want to put her hanging back in the back corner. So let's put a line there, and then we're going to go over 36 inches again and put another one. Okay, so there's Shelby's double hanging of 36 inches. Then we talked about giving her some mid-hanging. And mid-hanging, in case you haven't been following me for a while, mid-hanging is dresses that are down to your knees, pants that are hung from the cuff, a lot of the more popular sweaters that are, mid-thigh length, they fit really well in there as well. And so on the mid-hanging, you'll see a better when we look at it in elevation view, but it's nice because you get a few shelves above the mid-hanging as well. So let's put her mid-hanging section next. And for a mid-hanging section, I like to go 14 inches deep because, again, you're going to get shelves above that. And so you're going to want those shelves to be able to hold your clothes. And I'm talking more for the 14 inches deep if this is a closet for an adult. If it's a custom closet, your designer, might tell you to go 16 inches deep. If you are a bigger person or have, a lot of bulky clothes or that type of thing. Sometimes even going deeper than 14 is nice. But 14 is more available at box stores. So I'm going to go with that for now. So this is Shelby's mid-hanging section. So now what we've done is we've given her 72 inches of short hanging, 24 inches of mid-hanging. So we've given her 96 inches of hanging. So we've given her more hanging than she was currently using, which is what I like to do when I'm doing closets, because you know, if people's clothes are tight, you especially want to maybe try to expand that number a little bit if you can. Okay, so then the next section that I want to do for Shelby is some shelving, but on her shelving, I would like to put some shoes in there as well. So I'm going to do another 24-inch wide section just for information. Typically, shoes, women's shoes, are anywhere from 7 to 8 inches wide. So a 24-inch wide section is going to give you 3 pair of shoes side by side, fitting nicely. If it was for a man, that's where you know, more of a custom closet is nice, because then you can make that shelf wider. They typically need more, you know, about 27 to 30 inches to fit 3 pairs of shoes on. So that's just kind of probably too much information for now. So let's draw Shelby a shoe shelf next. And so I'm going to put in another panel and another 14-inch deep panel there. And now we've got her shoe shelves and folded clothes. You know, and if you're drawing this out and you're starting to forget what you did, you know, you can write in here to remind yourself that's going to be double, that's going to be mid, this is going to be shoes and shelves. Okay, so that you can kind of remind yourself what that is. And then the last section that we're going to do here is going to be drawers. And as I'm thinking this through, you know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to put her shoes and these other shelves more in the corner. And I'm going to put her drawers out a little bit. This is nicer. This will be nicer so that she doesn't feel like she's rubbing up against this wall when she's trying to open her drawers. Okay, so let's put a section of drawers next. Normally you would not need this many panels, but again, I'm drawing it this way to kind of show you guys each individual section in case that's the way you have to purchase it. In a custom closet, these panels would be shared. Okay, and you may even be able to share them once you purchase this. All right, so here's our drawers. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to draw Shelby's side, and we're going to call this one elevation B. And again, this is going to be drawn as if we're standing looking at it. So I'm going to draw, let's see, let's move it over here. No, let's do it over here so you can see this. So I'm going to draw the line 95 inches high there. That's this wall right here. Then we're going to draw the floor over 110 inches. And then we're going to go up 95, and that's that wall there. And then now we're drawing the ceiling. So now we are standing in front of this wall looking at it, about to build out a closet. Okay, and then the other thing that I said that we could draw in right away, especially in a closet like this because we are using the whole thing, is we can draw in the top of the system at 84 inches. And then we just, you know, really just start drawing in our panel. So our end section was our 36 inches of hanging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our 36 inches of hanging. Then we've got 24 inches of mid-hanging. And right now I'm just drawing in the panels. Then we've got our drawers. And then we've got the shoe shelves on the end. So these are all our sections. We do have a shelf at the top of every one. we have a rod up here and a rod down here. There's our double hanging section. The cool thing about a mid-hanging section is you can decide how high you want that rod. I know Shelby is short, so she doesn't need her rod very high, but I'm going to do the rod at 51 inches, because then if she does have a longer dress, it's not going to hit the floor. So that's my rod. I'm going to have a shelf above that. And again, if you did the closet inventory, you already know what your mid-hanging is, and you can measure how much you need. Measure from the top of the hanger to the bottom of your longest item and add a couple inches so that it's not hanging on the floor, and that's where you need your rod to be. Okay, so I'm just going to write rod at 51. Okay, so that's her dresses. And then we're going to have a couple more shelves up here for folded clothes, purses, that kind of thing. The really nice thing about this kind of hanging is that these shelves right here are easily accessible. So you're not, having to store stuff at the very top of the closet. So the next section is going to be her drawers, and most purchase drawers, I think, are going to come in a section of 4. I'm just going to draw some in with some standard sizes. You can get more specific on, the sizes of the drawers and that type of thing when you decide what is available. But for now, just draw them somewhere, somewhere around 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches wide. If you want a jewelry drawer, that's going to be narrower. But for now, we're just trying to get a design that's going to work and hold our stuff. Okay, so we've got 4 drawers there. Above the drawers, you can draw in a landing if you'd like. A lot of people like to have and what I mean by landing is a little bit bigger space where you can maybe put a jewelry box, or you can put down your watch, or whatever you might want to do. I have a lot of people that like to have about 18 inches there. They can put a cute necklace hanger or whatever. So I'm leaving a little bit bigger space there, and then putting more shelves above that. So now you can see Shelby is going to be able to reach her folded clothes, because some of them, they're coming down. On this last section here, we're going to do some shoes first. So the first thing I would do is leave 18 inches at the bottom for tall boots. Then, in this case, I know that she's got flats and she's got heels. So I would start out with a few close together shelves for flats. And I'm just going to give her a couple of those. Again, this is 3 pair of shoes on each shelf if you're laying them out perfectly. If you've got flats and stuff like that and you can stack them and get creative, you can fit a lot more on it. But so far we've got about 9 pair of shoes right here if they're laid out perfect and pretty. 3 pair of boots and 6 pair of flats. If you've got high heels, Bonnie, listen up. You need not lots of these. You're going to want, 7.5 to 8, and Christina, listen up, 7.5 to 8 3/4 inches, so that you can fit those heels in. And I know Shelby has a few of those too, so we'll put a couple of those in. And then we can start, you can either continue all the way up with shoes, or you can start to space the shelves a little bit farther apart for more folded clothes or purses or whatever. Okay, so here we've got this side drawn out already. And these were our dimensions, our approximate dimensions for now, because again, we don't know what kind of system we're building, so we don't really know what's available, but this is something that is going to fit. and you can adjust more specifically based on the manufacturer of the closet system that you choose. Okay, so what did we do here? We've got both sides drawn out, and you know, if you're looking at this wall and thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of wasted space, remember the clothes are going to be hanging out into this area here and into this area here. Okay, so there would be some space here for a couple hooks potentially. You could do a row of hooks there. On this side, you've got a light switch. Since this is shoes, there won't be anything sticking out, so you could maybe do some hooks here. Depends on if you're hook people. We're hook people here at our house. You could definitely do some hooks along this wall or a mirror. Those are some other ideas there. You can get a lot of stuff hanging up there. Necklace hangers would be cute on this wall. But I wouldn't put a structure here because this is the door and it's an open door. This is a flush wall. So if you absolutely had to have something, you know, if you had 1,000 pair of shoes and you had to have something, you'd want to stay back at least 24 inches from that door. So you potentially could get a small shoe shelf in here. But you see what I mean, when you walk in the space, then you're going to be going around it. So I definitely wouldn't do anything deep, but if you needed more shoe space, you could potentially do a shoe shelf here that was, you know, 16 inches wide, 18 inches wide, something like that, and get another, you know, 20, 30 pair of shoes in there if that was needed. These guys don't need that, so we'll just take that away. Okay. All right, so to do the closet math, again, Tyler needed 65 inches of hanging. We gave him 72. He needed 11 spaces for clothes. I'll just call it 11S. We gave him 19 spaces. Shelby needed 86 inches of total hanging. We gave her 72 inches of short and 24 inches of mid for a total of 96 inches. And she needed 6 stacks, but she also had a lot of things in bins that I didn't necessarily count, and so I think we definitely have enough shelving here. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm not going to count the landing because that's going to be a pretty spot, but you could if you absolutely needed that space. So we've got 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 spaces. And then we've got 3 boots, 6 flats, and 6 heels. That's not how you spell heels. 6 high, I'm going to call them. 6 highs. Okay. So everything is off the floor and everything is reachable. This, you know, unless, if this was a client of mine, my guess would be that this person would not even use the top. You wouldn't need it because you've got so much more space, where before, you know, I wish I could show you some of those pictures. Before, actually maybe I can here. Hold on. Whoops, not that way. This was the closet. Okay, that was the closet. You can see the stuff up here that she was using. You can see some of the things on the floor here. These were the things that I was replacing with drawers. So we go from this up here, you know, she can't reach it that well, to this, everything you can reach, tons and tons more space, and pretty, 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 like that. So, okay. Guys, I know that was a really fast thing. I know many of you have different shaped closets, and maybe some of the things that we talked about today were relevant to your closet, and maybe they weren't. I hope that you got an idea at least of what a section looks like. We didn't talk about any of the huge mistakes. I think maybe next week that'll be what I talk about is, you know, there's 3 really big mistakes that people are always trying to talk me into. And maybe we can talk through some of those and how to avoid those really bad mistakes that kind of muck up your closet, don't give you a lot of functionality, and make it hard to move around in. So we'll talk about that next week. Send me a DM if you have any specific questions about your closets. If this was your first video, go back and watch the other ones. This will probably make a lot more sense. And if I have any volunteers, thank you to Shelby for letting me use her closet as my guinea pig example. But I do need more spaces, because you all know my spaces are tiny. I can't show you really much for custom closets in them. So I would love to help somebody else figure out what they can do. Let me know and we'll go from there. Everyone have a blessed week, and thank you again so much for being here. Take care.